At long last, at long, seemingly interminable last, the promised tire change video. Here we have a rear tire from a Yamaha QT50. Tools needed: 2 tire irons, 14-inch zip ties or thereabouts. I usually use 4 or 5, but I only had 2 left. Dawn dishwashing liquid or some other liquid soap of your choice. Step 1, remove air from tire. Step 2, take tire iron, remove tire from wheel. It's nice to have the, I think these are 11-inch tire irons. They look like it. Anyhow, it's nice to have the longer tire irons. Sometimes I wish I had 3 arms for this job. And when removing the tire from the rim, you want to be careful and not puncture the tube if you plan on reusing the tube. And the reason I suggest reusing the tube is a guy working at a bike shop told me that they used more rubber in the older style tubes than in the newer tubes. And the newer tubes are more easily punctured. Of course, this inner tube in here is probably 30 plus years old. So whatever, take it for what it's worth. I'm going to reuse this tube because it holds air just fine. I could be making a mistake. Who knows? We'll see how it all works out for me. Okay, we still got a little air in the tube, so I'm going to remove that. Got the gloves on. Because this is a dirty job. Looking for the valve stem hole, or maybe not. I'm not sure what I'm doing. Here's my new IRC NC77 tire. And through the magic of video editing, I deleted all the time I spent removing the plastic wrapping. Oh man, does that look nice. Still got the paint. Well, of course it would still have the paint. Has the paint on it. The nubs. Step next. Insert tube into tire. You guys have been dying for this video. And there are other tire change videos on YouTube. This is just my somewhat different process. And having deleted the unwrapping of the tire part, and this is in real time, it took me about 17 minutes to change the tire. Not quite sure what happened there. We'll see how it turns out. Some reason had a little pause while recording this audio. But anyways, so inserting the tube into the tire, and you always have a little bit of the tube hanging out, and I try to position whatever part of the tube is hanging out down by the valve stem, because I'm going to insert the valve stem onto the rim first. Okay, like I said, I only had 2 zip ties of this sufficient length to work with me this time. So I'm going to try to install this tire with just 2 zip ties. And we'll say that first zip tie's inserted at, or put on at 12 o'clock. I probably should have put it at around 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, or maybe 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. But, oh well. What can you do? And basically you want to tighten them on there so that the 2 halves of the tire are completely closed and none of the inner tube is sticking out. My particular method is to use the tire to protect the tube as much as I can. So I've got my Dawn dishwashing liquid, and I'm going to rub it on the inside of the tire, as you see here. Some people use olive oil. I saw a guy on YouTube used motor oil, and I guess that'll work. Not sure it's the best choice. Not sure I want used motor oil or even new motor oil all over my tire. And get it on the part of the tube that's sticking out. Alright, the next step is to insert the valve stem into the rim. And like I said, I positioned the part of the tube that's sticking out near the valve stem, because I can work that in by hand without tire tools, and I don't have to risk having the tire tools puncture the tube down there. And I'll screw that little nut on as best I can. And then the next challenge is getting enough tire onto the rim so that it'll kind of hold. So you just kind of push it on by hand, and then whatever section you can't get on, you want that to be the section that's protected by the 2 halves of the tire, so that when you use the tools to get it on, the tire is protecting the tube. Because your biggest issue with doing this job is not puncturing the tube. I used to have the guy at the bike store put these on, and he hated to put them on because his philosophy was don't use the tire tools at all, so you don't risk puncturing the tube, or use them very little. But you know, pressing this thing on entirely by hand, I've not been able to accomplish that trick. And the tire tools, on each end, they have a little different shape, and basically I'm using the end that you can kind of stick underneath the rim and push the tire on with. And then later on, you'll get to the point where you can't even use that, and the other end you can kind of insert a little easier because it's not as curved. And the struggles begin. To make it easier, I think I got most all the air out of the tube. There we have the tire iron flipping out on me, which can be incredibly frustrating. And it probably won't be the last time it happens in this video, but I don't remember. Yeah, here's where I wish I had 3 hands. If you don't have 3 hands like me, you can employ an elbow here or there, like that. Oh yeah, this will drive you nuts. Forgot to mention, the tires go on a certain direction, and you'll see an arrow pointing in the direction of the rotation. Make sure before you start any of this that you get the tire on in the direction of rotation correctly. I'm used to doing the rear tire, and one time I went to replace the front tire on one of these, and the orientation's a little different. Put it on, thought I had it on wrong, took it off, put it on again, actually had it right the first time, and I put it on wrong the second time, had to take it off and put it on a third time. So I guess if anything, I got plenty of practice changing tires. That was incredibly frustrating, but I got quicker each time. Okay, I think we're to the point now where this thing is sufficiently on, and now it's holding itself on, and now we've got it's the last 5% that's always the hardest. So at this point you can only take like little bites at a time. So you've got to stick in your tool just an inch or two away from where it's still off the tire, and work it on gradually. And now the tire's on so tight that it's hard to get the tool underneath or between the tire and the rim to push it on. And as you can see, I'm using the less curved end of that tire iron. No, you can't push it on. Can't push it on by hand. It's impossible. Or nearly impossible. Yeah, that's not going to work. Work it over, pull it back out some, pull the tire iron back out. You got too much tire iron in there, man. You can also heat up the tire to make it a little more pliable before you put it on. I've read about some people throwing them in the dryer. Not sure that's a wise idea. Maybe set them out in the sun for a while, or set them in front of a space heater for a while. But if you're going to heat them up, don't heat them up drastically. Heat them up gradually. Don't heat them up in a way that's going to damage the tire. Back to the used motor oil. I think oil can probably be destructive to rubber surfaces, so probably another reason not to use motor oil to help get these things on. Oh yeah, we're getting close. We're getting real close. Did it pop back out on me? And this is the part where usually you puncture the tube. But again, with the zip ties, what I've done is I've kind of sandwiched the tube in the tire, so the risk of puncturing the tube is dramatically decreased. Now, still no guarantee you're not going to puncture the tube, but and as long as you use the curved end so that it's pointing in towards the rim, that greatly decreases your chance of puncturing the tube. One thing I've always wanted to try is they say to put baby powder on the tube or some sort of powder on the tube before you put it in the tire, and that has some benefits. I'm not sure if or exactly what those are right off the top of my head. I've just forgotten, but that's another thing you can do to kind of help out with this process and minimize trouble. Yeah, that's how hard it is to move this thing. You know, you get it between the rim and the tire, and it just doesn't want to budge over to where you need it, because right now I'm taking too big a bite. Come on, just this last little bit. Just this last little bit. You can do it. You can do it. Actually, I don't even need this tire. I'm just doing this for the video's sake. I've got a spare rear tire for the Yamahopper. Anybody want it? Make me an offer. Look at that. Oh yeah, and we've got it. Phase next. Clip off the zip ties and remove. Clip them off in a manner that you don't damage the tire. Come on, these are nice new tires. Let's not screw it up. Usually just push the tire in, create a little slack, and you can get that under there without clipping the tire. Pull the zip ties out. Look at that. Phase next. Air it up, which I did. Held air just fine. And we're ready to roll and stick tire on bike. Clean off the rim a little. Maybe wipe off the Dawn dishwashing detergent. Hey, there's your tire change in about 17 minutes. Enjoy. See you next time.